On today's show, Alperen Sengun outplays Nikola Jokic to lead Turkiye past Serbia, undefeated 5-0 record in group stage of EuroBasket. We are witnessing the beginnings of Europe's next great superstar basketball player. We're going to break it all down for you coming up right here at Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Alperen Sengun just went head-to-head with the best player on the planet, Nikola Jokic, and won. He outplayed him. Ne haber ve hoş geldiniz. What is up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets and Turkiye basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Thursdays. Be sure to follow along wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Just search Locked On Rockets, where the best way you can help us grow our show is to listen every single day on a podcast platform of your choosing, and then like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Comment, please. The comments help us out a ton. On today's show, we are going to be talking about and breaking down Turkiye's incredible performance against Serbia, 95-90 final score. Alperen Sengun out-dueling, out-playing, out-muscling, out-passing, out-scoring, out-everythinging Nikola Jokic on the floor, the best player on the planet. Shane Larkin with maybe the best game of his career. How Turkiye executed in crunch time to be able to secure this win. So much to get to. And then we'll take a look a little bit further down the line at the tournament bracket, the knockout stage, and all that good stuff coming down the pipeline in the EuroBasket tournament. First, I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is closer than you think, and right now new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. Download the FanDuel app or visit FanDuel.com to get started. And as always, thanks so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day, whether it's on your way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Thank you so much for being an everydayer. Alperen Sengun. Canavar oyun. Monster game. Again, I'm not going to ever get tired of saying it. Another huge game. Playing head-to-head with Nikola Jokic in this one. Finished the game with a ridiculous 28 points on 10 of 17 shooting. It was 6 of 10 inside the arc. 4 of 7 from three-point land. I cannot speak for Sengun's career before he became an NBA player, unfortunately. I didn't look at the stats. I don't know this. But at least in the last 4 years, 4 three-pointers is the most threes Sengun has ever hit in a basketball game. He's never hit 4 or more threes in the NBA since being drafted and playing for the Houston Rockets. So this would be a career-high game for Alperen Sengun. He was drilling them from beyond the arc. Just Yanior on fire, burning. He was also 4 or 5 at the free throw line, including the go-ahead free throws late to take the lead in the game. 13 rebounds, 8 assists, and the game-winning steal to secure this victory for Turkiye. Just an unbelievable masterclass, dominant, superstar performance from Alperen Sengun. On the other side, Jokic had a good game. Like, that's the crazy part, is Jokic didn't play poorly, and yet Sengun played better. Jokic had 22 points on 10 of 16 shooting, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. But he was a -7 in his 32 minutes of run. And at every turn, when it felt like Serbia was pulling away, when they regained the lead in the fourth quarter, and it felt like, here it comes, here's the Jokic takeover, it's going to be heartbreak, they had an answer. Sengun had an answer. Unless I did the math wrong, I believe he had 8 of his 28 points there in the fourth quarter, in the final frame. He went from being a facilitator in the first half of the game, where by halftime, Sengun had 7 assists. So he of his 8 assists that he finished with, he had 7 of them at halftime because he was being forced into being more of a playmaker in the first half of the game. And then when he needed to turn it on and be a scorer, scored 16 points in the second half, 8 of them in the fourth quarter, including the go-ahead clutch free throws to take the lead and win the game for his team, for his country. We are witnessing, and look, we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about the game a little bit, the execution late. But when it comes to Alperen Sengun, we are watching what I believe is Europe's next great superstar player. I hinted at this before because I didn't quite want to jump all the way there. But watching the way that Sengun has played through EuroBasket this offseason, the improvements he's made in his game through his first 4 years as an NBA player, we're witnessing something really special here. And I truly believe that Sengun will be mentioned along the likes of Jokic, Giannis, Luka. He'll be in that same conversation as those guys, as the NBA's best European superstars this upcoming season. That's the trajectory that he is currently on. He's grown tremendously as a defender since becoming an NBA player, to the point that he is a plus level defender. He is a versatile, good defender. He got the defensive stop. He switched out onto a perimeter player and forced the steal to win the game. How many bigs can do that? And not only that, but he was dominant on the other side. He put up 28 points on good efficiency, was raining threes, and was facilitating at an unbelievably high level. He was 2 assists shy of a triple-double. One of the, 5th, 6th, in EuroBasket history. He was right there. We are watching something incredibly special. There's no other way to put it here. And when you imagine, first off, he should be the runaway favorite right now to win tournament MVP. And when you imagine what this will look like next season on the Houston Rockets, a bounce back when it comes to his efficiency around the rim. He'll still have his improved defense. If he puts up 25 a game, 25, 12 and 7, that's an MVP caliber player right there. That's an MVP candidate right there for Alperen Sengun and the Houston Rockets. And they're going to be one of the best teams in the NBA, barring something catastrophic happening. I'm almost at a loss for words, because we have watched, I've watched every game that Alperen Sengun has played over the last 4 years as a member of the Houston Rockets, playing for the Turkish national team. And this might be one of the best games that he's ever played individually, given the toughness, how tough the opponent was, the stakes of the game, the battle, between himself and Nikola Jokic, and to come out on top the way that he did. I talked about it before coming into the game. This was an opportunity to make a statement. And I think Alperen Sengun absolutely made a statement with this game, with this win. And look, no more baby Jokic anymore. Call him Daddy Sengun, all right? No more baby Jokic. That is Daddy Sengun now. Oh, man. Coming up, want to talk about the game flow, the crunch time execution to be able to pull out this W. Shane Larkin with maybe the best game of his career in this one, plus taking a look at the bracket, the rest of the tournament. It's all coming up here in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app, however you want to use them, whatever you're looking for. Look, FanDuel's great because it lets you bet however you like. You can do player props, you can build a same game parlay, or even jump in live as the action unfolds. Right now, you can head over to FanDuel.com. Take a look at the outright favorites for this year's Super Bowl. The Bills and the Ravens both plus 700. The Eagles right behind them at plus 750. You got the Chiefs at plus 850. And then in distant fifth place, the Lions at plus 1200. So for all those odds and so much more, head on over to FanDuel.com. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast, home for everything Houston Rockets and EuroBasket basketball. All right, I want to highlight here the end of this game, because as much of a back and forth affair as it was, for Turkiye to come away with the win, they led going into the fourth quarter. Not by much. It was just a 1-point lead, 74-73. And it was early in that fourth quarter that Serbia reclaimed the lead. They got a couple buckets from Marko Guduric, and then Jokic hit a bucket, and they were up 78-76. Then Guduric comes down, hits a three-pointer. They're up 81-79. Dobric hits another shot. They're up 83-79. Jokic comes down, hits another shot. And it kind of felt like about halfway through the fourth quarter, Serbia kept trying to pull away. They went up by a couple buckets or one bucket here or there, and they kept making shots. And you kept thinking, man, here it comes. This is going to be the spot where they pull away. And Turkiye was able to respond. They had answers every time down. Whether it was Korkmaz hitting Korkmaz hit a huge three-pointer to kind of stop the run that Serbia had started fresh out of a timeout. Cedi Osman with a great assist on that play. Alperen Sengun with his answers down the line. The defense in that fourth quarter to really lock in and slow things down. Seamus Hazard with a big three of his own a little bit later in the game, off of an assist from Osmani. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think that play that came with just over 2 minutes left in the game. That play started with Alperen Sengun, and it started with Sengun. And then it became a kick out. I think it was a kick out to Osmani, and then Osmani swung it to Seamus, who drilled the three-pointer to put Turkiye back up 89-88. And then Jokic comes back down a minute later. He knocks down a big-time shot under the rim, and Serbia goes up 90-89, and it's under a minute to play. And Alperen Sengun draws the foul, gets to the free throw line, has a chance to knock down 2 free throws. And this has been an area of Sengun's game, right? The concern with the free throw shooting, in addition to the efficiency around the basket, ices 2 incredibly clutch free throws to put his team ahead. And then Serbia comes back down. They have a chance to not only they have a chance to win the game on this final possession, right? They draw something up, they call timeout. And Alperen Sengun was able to stop the play on the defensive side of the ball, jumped out on Guduric and forced the turnover, and literally won the game for Turkiye. Shane Larkin gets fouled, hits his free throws. They go up by 3. Serbia has a chance to tie it at this point. They can't. They don't make anything. Sengun gets fouled again, gets a couple more free throws, and that's the game. And this was the one area through this tournament, right, where Turkiye had not been tested in these waters yet, because they've won most of their games pretty handily, right? So they haven't been in these pressure crunch time situations yet, at least through these 5 group stage games. And that was kind of one of the big questions, is how are they going to respond when they deal with an opponent like Serbia, who's going to really press them all the way down to the final buzzer? And they responded. They executed at such a high level. They took care of the basketball. They got good, high-quality shots. They had an answer every time down. Their defense locked in when it needed to. You could not have asked for better overall fourth quarter execution in this game than what you ultimately got from this one to secure the win. And thankfully, this will be the last they have to see of Serbia until potentially a medal game much, much further down the line. Although we'll talk about the brackets and everything a little bit later on. I want to shed a spotlight on Shane Larkin, who I got to highlight here. I'll admit, I thought it was crazy that Ataman decided to play all his starters like well into the second quarter. I was like, oh, so we're doing one of these. Like as watching the game, I'm thinking, oh crap. Okay, cool. He's just not going to make any subs. And then Jokic is going to be fresh and Şengün's going to be exhausted and they're going to lose the game in the fourth quarter. That's exactly what I was thinking about halfway through the second quarter. I'm being completely honest. I was like, this is a mistake. This is bad. This is not going to work out. One of the biggest factors for the Turkish team has been their depth and how many like good rotation players that it seems that they have available, and then they just didn't utilize their depth. And I was like, this is a mistake. You're getting out coached. And then he proved me wrong. That's why he makes the big bucks, and I'm sitting here as a podcaster. But you know, Şengün barely got any rest in this game. He played 36 minutes and 13 seconds of the available 40 minutes. Shane Larkin played 39 minutes and 18 seconds. Shane Larkin got not even a cup of coffee. He got a puff of air for 42 seconds at one point on the sideline, and that was it. He played basically every minute of this game and played a flawless game. 23 points on 7 of 13 shooting. Shout out 713. Was 5 of 8 from long distance. Perfect 4 of 4 at the free throw line. Couple rebounds. 9 assists to 0 turnovers. Turkiye does not get this win without Shane Larkin playing one of the best games of probably his entire career. He was sensational in this game, constantly creating good opportunities offensively, bailing the offense out with step backs, you know, and whatnot whenever he needed to, generate something himself, getting things pushing in transition, just doing everything for them while he was out there. This was a Batman and Superman performance from Şengün and Shane Larkin. This was not Batman and Robin. This was like Shane Larkin himself played like he was the best player of the team. And when you have two guys playing at that level, it's going to be really tough to lose a game. But that's what you needed to be able to beat Serbia. That's how good they are as a collective unit, as a team, with the insane ability of Nikola Jokic pushing that team forward. And then they also got great contributions from other guys. Cedi Osman, who didn't have quite as loud of a game as Shane Larkin did, but 16 points, great efficiency, 6 of 10 shooting, 4 of 7 from downtown. Had a couple assists, played some stellar defense. Cedi was amazing. And then Korkmaz, who has been, kind of up and down through most of the tournament so far. 8 points. Perfect from the floor, hit a couple threes, hit a couple free throws, did what he was supposed to do. He was reliable. Osmani, 10 points, 4 of 7 shooting. And then even though he didn't jump out offensively, Adem Bona played about 8 minutes and, he helped, spell Şengün for the little bit of rest that he did get in this game. And he was tasked with guarding Jokic for stretches of the game while he was subbed in. And did about as good of a job as you could hope for somebody to do on Jokic. That was going to be a key point in this game is how was Turkiye going to guard Jokic without Şengün, right? Because Şengün has shown in the past that he can man up to Jokic one-on-one. Is he going to be able to stop Jokic? No, nobody can. But is he going to be able to make life difficult for him, make stuff, guard him well, be in the right spots, force Jokic to decide between scoring and facilitating and all that kind of stuff defensively. Adem Bona, his size, his strength, his length on defense was great to have out there for the 8 minutes that he did play against Jokic. And that was important, right? You needed to get Sengun that little bit of rest so that he'd be able to finish the game off. It took a full team performance. It really did. Shout out to Sipahi, who had 5 assists of his own. He was great. Seamus hit the big 3 there at the very, very end, played some solid perimeter defense. Like, this took an entire team effort, and they were able to pull it off. I honestly couldn't be more proud of a team that's not even my team, right? Honestly, that's one of the most beautiful things about basketball, right? How it brings people together. You know, the entire country of Turkiye became, Rockets fans, right? When Sengun got drafted to the Houston Rockets 4 years ago, and have tuned in for games at terrible hours of the night, like all this stuff to be able to watch their guy play. And now for myself and then many other Rockets fans, right, being able to support and cheer for the Turkish team in EuroBasket, not the first time for me, because I did it before, but cheering for them in EuroBasket, cheering for them in the Olympics, like all this stuff. And, really adopting this team as our own team. And they wear red too, right? So it's like a match made in heaven. It's perfect. And so that's one of the most beautiful things about the game of basketball that I love. So I'm happy to be on this ride with you, my Turkish brothers and sisters. And hopefully it ends with a medal finish, because it certainly feels like that's the direction that this Turkish team is headed. Coming up, final segment, want to talk about the rest of the tournament bracket. Want to get into who they're playing next. They got Sweden. They got the number 1 seed. They're playing Sweden in the first round of 16. We'll talk about that. We'll take a look at possible opponents further down the line, and final thoughts, all that good stuff coming up here in just one moment. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets and EuroBasket basketball. All right, taking a look at the tournament bracket here in the final stage. Now the bracket is not fully set, because we've still got one more slate of games to play in group stage before the full 16 team bracket is locked in and decided. But we do know at least one half of the bracket so far. And this is one really important distinction here, is that Serbia is now, I mentioned it earlier, Serbia is on the complete other side of the bracket from Turkiye, and Germany is on the other side of the bracket as well. And that's huge, because of all the teams in the tournament, obviously, even though they just beat Serbia, that's the team that you really don't want to have to see again, right? Yes, they made their statement. It was awesome. Sengun beat Jokic. I don't want to say don't count on it happening again, but that's going to be a tough battle, right? It's not a guarantee if you match up with Serbia. So let them battle through a bunch of other teams, to get to the medal game, and then deal with them when you have to deal with them. So they literally will not see Serbia again unless it is in a medal placing game at the very end of the tournament, which is fantastic news. Same case for Germany as well. They're on the complete opposite side of the bracket. So Turkiye plays Sweden first, and that's a huge get. This was so important, because even though it's single elimination, you can't underestimate any opponent, right? You can't just walk into a game and assume you're going to win. You need to respect each and every individual opponent and go out and take care of business. That being said, Sweden is 1-4. They've only won one game. They have not been good in the tournament, and they only qualified because Great Britain and Montenegro are that much worse. So that being said, this was it was very clearly, Germany and Lithuania and then Finland at the top of their Group B bracket, and then the Sweden, Montenegro, Great Britain were just awful. So that's why it was so important for Turkiye to win, to stay undefeated, to beat Serbia, and to claim that spot, because now they have a much easier path to the gold medal than they would have otherwise if they were in the spot that Serbia was in, because then they'd be playing Finland, a much tougher opponent in round 16. And then they'd have to go through Germany at some point before getting to the gold medal game, which would, in theory, be a team like Serbia. So they get that. Now, I don't know, at some point they'll probably cross paths with either Lithuania or Latvia potentially. They're also in the same side of the bracket as Turkiye, but those are teams that we've seen them beat before. So not a concern, not a major issue there. Now, I will say, we don't know where these other teams are going to be placed, and that's the concern. Maybe there is a way to predict this, and I'm just dumb, and I'm just not, EuroBasket cultured, if you will. But of the remaining teams that are not listed yet on the bracket, obviously you've got Greece with Giannis. There's a concern there. You've got Spain, and even though they haven't performed like phenomenally so far, you don't want to underestimate Spain because they're that good. Slovenia has been struggling. They're only 2-2. They might not even qualify if they lose their final game. That's kind of the crazy part here. So don't know what's ultimately going to happen with Giannis, with Luka. They may run into them at some point here on this side of the bracket, given how things are potentially going to shake out. And it could happen as early as next round. That's the thing, depending on who lines up on the other side of the 16 bracket, opposite of Turkiye and Sweden. That we could see one of Giannis or Luka next round. And that would certainly be a really tough challenge to be able to overcome. But at the same time, not nearly as worried about those guys as Serbia and Jokic, because they clearly are the best team in the tournament. Actually, you know what? I can't even say that now. I can't even say that Serbia is clearly the best team in the tournament. You want to know why? Turkiye is the best team in the tournament. Okay? They're right now, they are the best team in the tournament. Germany also looks really, really good. I can't lie on that one. Germany is, very, very happy that might not be the team that they have, much, much further down the line. That would be one hell of a gold medal game. I'm just saying, between the Turkish team and the German team. Would love to see that as the gold medal game, and would love to obviously see our boy Sengun and the Turkish team come out on top and win the gold medal. But it very much feels like there's I feel like the floor at this point, the expectation is to place for a medal now, given how lucky they got with the bracket breaking out the way that it did, with Serbia and Germany on the other side of the bracket. And I think those are the three best teams right now, very clearly in EuroBasket. Is in some order, it's Turkiye, Germany, Serbia. However you want to stack up those three teams from first, second, third, the fact that two of those three are on the other side of the bracket is huge for the ramifications of being able to try and make it all the way to the end and place for a medal. So I feel like at worst, Turkiye comes away with at least a bronze medal, but screw settling for bronze. Like, we want the gold, go all the way, right? So I don't have a preview in store for Sweden. I need to kind of look into it, but again, it's not even worth really looking into. They should be a pushover. But it's going to be a ton of fun to follow as this tournament progresses. I've had a lot of people who keep messaging me and they're like, how do we watch the games? I was going to say, just get courtside 1891 because that's the easiest way to do it. Screw courtside for crapping out during the game. It shut down at the end of the third quarter. And then I had to scramble to turn on my VPN and go to the TRT sports channel for the Turkish team on YouTube. It was free. Thank goodness. Plus the Turkish announcers are way better. Anyways, they get so hype. I love the Turkish announcers. I don't know who they are. If you know their names on the TRT sports broadcast on the YouTube channel, put their names in the YouTube comments because I love them. They're so amazing. I was only using courtside in 1891 because I was watching the game remotely on my laptop, and it was just easier than, installing my VPN, doing that whole thing, putting myself in Turkiye. So anyways, that's the easiest way to watch it, is courtside. But if they're going to crap out again, then not worth it. Get a VPN, change your location to Turkiye, and then just watch it online. Super easy. There's a bunch of available like live streams and whatnot. That's the easiest way you can watch these games. And now that it's single elimination, like the stakes are even higher. You're going to want to tune into these games. Watch Sengun continue to dominate to see what we can expect from him this upcoming season for the Houston Rockets as they make their championship bid. And support your guy, support your player on his way to leading his country to hopefully, knock on wood, a gold medal down the line. That's going to do it for today's episode. I want your thoughts. Give me your thoughts in the YouTube comments, your reaction to Sengun outplaying Nikola Jokic, to dueling him, going back and forth, head to head, and getting the better of him in this matchup, to the undefeated record for the Turkish team. All of it. Give me all your thoughts in the YouTube comments. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets and Turkiye basketball.